What is up, wrestling fans? Welcome to episode number... What number are we on? I know we're on 600 something or whatever. 604.
604? Yeah.
Of the Smark and Smack Talk podcast hot tags of the week. It's been a day. I'm your host as always, Tony Mango. Joining me as always, Robert E. Felice.
It has indeed been a day, Tony.
It's been a week. It's been a month. It's been a year. It's been a decade. It's been a worse timeline. God damn it, Brock. We're going to talk a little bit about Brock screwing some things up here with some of our hot tags that we got going on here. We're going to talk spoilers for SmackDown tonight. We're going to talk about Collision spoilers, NXT spoilers, which is nice to not have to watch as much of that stuff as dedicated.
Yeah, well, fuck you. Sorry, you probably just lost your monetization.
What monetization, right? I'm going to lose the 12 cents that I'll get on the history of this.
I'll PayPal you 12 cents.
That's a special tier of the Patreon, which if you don't know what it is, go to patreon.com/smarkmom. And if you want to donate 12 cents, I think you can't do that on the thanks button over there, but I don't know, maybe there's a system out there. You know what you could do? If you want to donate 12 cents, go to TeePublic or Redbubble and buy a sticker, because I get about 30 cents each. That's about it. So
I used to do that. Yeah, you don't get nearly enough.
No, and then of course their rates are awful, like we've been talking about. But hey, if you do want to help out on the monetary side of things, there's a join button over there on YouTube if you are here. And if you are, of course, drop your thoughts in the comments below. Tell us what you think when we start off a podcast immediately salty. And of course, stay tuned.
Apologize.
Yeah, it's it is what it is. But you guys like when we're like brutally honest, and
we're awake at the very least, is what we are.
We're alive. You like when we're honest, and as Stephanie McMahon would say, rah. So I got this marketplace stuff on the screen right now if you're on YouTube. That means you could also see we got the Darkcast, Pick Your Poison tier, and all that stuff. I don't know when we're going to do the Darkcast for July, but it's not July yet, so that's an excuse. But we probably are going to be recording that next week, because we got to record a lot next week. We're going to do, 3 main events and a Darkcast and a hot tags. Yeah, it's going to be jamming in quite a bit there, but we'll have some fun topics to talk about there. We'll have, of course, Money in the Bank coming up tomorrow afternoon. That's throwing me off so much. I keep wanting to say tomorrow night. And of course, we'll have the
Collision tomorrow night if you really want to watch wrestling tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night, I'll probably be watching Silo, another episode of that, or maybe Secret Invasion. I don't know. Maybe I'll watch a movie. I also saw Indiana Jones yesterday. It was good.
Is it as bad as people say it is?
No, it's good.
Really?
Yeah. It's better than Crystal Skull. I haven't seen Temple of Doom in a long time, but I would say maybe functionally it might be a better movie than Temple of Doom. Might not be like, nostalgic fun and all, but
Secret Invasion's on Disney Plus. Okay.
Secret Invasion is on there. 2 episodes.
Cool. I will watch.
If you want more talk about Indiana Jones and Marvel and everything else movie related, go to fanboysanonymous.com. Get that plug out of the way right now. Facebook.com/fanboysanonymous, Twitter.com/fanboysanon, because I can't fit in us because Twitter's stupid like that. YouTube, of course, at Fanboys Anonymous. You can see things like the Blueprint Project, which if you don't know what it is by now, with me plugging it like crazy, then you have not been listening. And shame on you, because that's the whole point of a podcast, is for you to listen. But if you are not supporting that, then also shame on you. Why are you a bad person? Definitely go check out all those different videos that I had put out there, especially the ones from the Batman A Nighttime Story, 100 Records from the Wayne Foundation Archives. There are 5 chapters and an explanation video of what's going on there. I definitely think you would be a fan of it, even if you're not the biggest Batman fan. I've heard from some people that aren't huge Batman fans. Obviously, there's different levels of, oh, I'm a Batman fan, but I can't tell you who Crazy Quilt is. And then there's people like me who are like, let me dive into, one-shot people like, like Rich Jordan Reynolds, which is like, I wouldn't have even known that name up until 2 years ago or whatever it was when I started adding those notes. So do your due diligence. Support a mango tree. I'm going to guilt trip people.
One quick question about the Blueprint Project. What would be your preferred medium to actually see the story play out?
For which one?
Or specifically Batman, since that's the one you've fleshed out the most.
I think the best realistic way of doing that is probably graphic novels. But my ideal would most likely be, for a lot of these, it would most likely be cartoon animated because it's just like cheaper budget and you could do more. I mean, if you had all the budget in the world, live action, I would totally see 100 live action stories of this.
So I think...
So there's 3 different levels. There's ideal, there's realistic ideal, and then there's realistic.
So I'm always going to prefer animated. That's not a surprise to anyone who knows me and this podcast at this point. But I think as a streaming series where it's weekly, where it's kind of like you chop up a movie into parts, I think if you're going to go live action, that's the route.
Live action when it comes to Absolute Power Rangers and Mighty Morphin Epic, that's 12 feature-length films and 2 short films. And really no other way. I mean, it could be animated instead of live action. It's movies, though, at the very least. And now everybody's sitting there going, oh my God, are we going to talk about wrestling?
You're wrestling podcast?
You're 6.5 minutes in on that.
Let's talk about wrestling, Tony.
Let's talk about wrestling movies. How about we do transition that way, since I already did those plugs. Let's talk about the Iron Claw movie, the Von Erich story, which supposedly, according to Dave Meltzer and the Wrestling Observer newsletter, is not getting a great reception for their test screenings.
Like, is it because, first of all, I have weirdly become like a stan for A24, so I have a hard time believing that they would put out a bad movie because everything they've touched is gold. I'm sure it'll be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it.
I mean, I'll definitely check it out. Yeah, we've seen plenty of bad movies we've done fan tracks for and stuff. I've been on a kick of watching bad movies specifically. Like I've seen, you're going to hate me for bringing up another movie related thing on this podcast, but they bring up my list of movies that I've watched this year. A vast majority of them have been purposely watching bad movies from like the 80s, like bad action movies. So I had been watching the 3 Beverly Hills Cop movies, Big Trouble in Little China, Bloodsport, Cobra, which is fantastic, Con Air, Dark Man, Escape from New York, Escape from LA.
Is this just you just finally getting around to this shit?
From some of them. Yeah. And just like me and the wife just watching these funny movies and laughing at them. Roadhouse. That was like one of the better ones to laugh at.
Roadhouse.
The Shadow. Shadow Knows. Awful movies. So, I mean, you give me a Von Erich thing. I'm not super big on the Von Erichs, but hey, it's a wrestling related movie. I'm going to watch it, like we've said before. But
I am. Well, that's one that we will probably especially depending on how it releases. I can see that being a first watch together.
Yeah,
like that. I'm very big on this. And again, A24, great movies. X, Everything Everywhere All at Once. Is there an A24 film?
Pearl has our new Superman, David Cornsweet.
Nice.
It's the only thing I've seen him in. So, my whole context of the new Clark Kent is that he's got a mustache and he works as a projectionist in a couple scenes. So
they'd be CGIing out the mustache.
Yeah, maybe they have a better track record than they did with Henry Cavill with that. But yeah, according to WON, now this is by RSN reporting, so I don't know the full thing because I didn't check out Meltzer's actual thing, so I'm going proxy by proxy. But
hold on, I'll check out the actual thing while you talk.
Yeah, so this report says that the movie, quote, for this article, it was added that the movie will not push the envelope and that there is legitimate criticism regarding some performances, namely the actor who portrays Ric Flair. It was stated that the actor garnered laughs from the audience during the test screening, which was not intended.
Well, now listen. If you haven't unintentionally laughed at a Ric Flair promo, you're probably not doing it right.
Not even a Ric Flair promo, but just Ric Flair existing.
Right, like maybe this isn't as bad as it's being laid out here. I could see it being a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to it.
It's like maybe it's a thing where the like the pro wrestling element is not really translating to casual people, you know?
Okay,
it could be that where they laugh at it because it's like, yeah, it's silly, it's stupid. But for people like us, it would be like, oh no, that's actually just Ric Flair.
So, okay, movie starts with a black and white scene of Fritz von Erich. Wow, Dave. Okay, this is very in depth. Okay.
Was that like a full on spoiler breakdown?
They chose a safe. I'm just reading the very end here. Overall, it was said to be better than Ready to Rumble and worse than The Wrestler. But I think the vast majority of movies made would fit into that category. The first half was said to be fun, and the second half tried to be serious, but probably needs to be edited differently. Overall report was that it was very disappointing and that there's many angles or ways they could take to tell the Von Erich story, and they chose a safe, boring one that doesn't effectively communicate or commit to anything. Now, that's going to come down to a matter of taste. Because did you want to make a more palatable movie for the general audience, or did you really want to dive into just the dog poop that is the Von Erich story with all the tragedies and the toxic shock syndrome and the suicides? Maybe you just don't want to go that way. Yeah.
If they go the safe route, sometimes these things just end up being watered down and kind of bland. So maybe that's what we got for this type of movie. Maybe it ends up being something that they can fix with reshoots or something, but I don't know how big the part of the Ric Flair character is going to be in the movie.
Oh, probably not at all.
So if that's the biggest issue of the whole thing, then that's one thing. If it's the entire movie, then for all we know, maybe this ends up getting released like not in theaters or something. We'll see. I mean,
which I'd be okay with, because as I just said, that means we're watching it first.
Yeah. I mean, there are plenty of ways to get around that these days. You can release it like that. You can release it direct to video. You can just not release it and cut the budget, like Warner Brothers has done for some things.
I want that movie, Tony. But speaking of movies, let's go on here with another thing. Trinity Fatu has landed a role in the upcoming Queen of the Ring movie about the life of Mildred Burke, which we found out previously also features Charlotte Flair and Liv Morgan.
You know who she's playing?
No word on who she's playing, but I think that's pretty cool.
I'm curious. I can't think of any black female wrestlers from around that time frame off the top of my head.
The first one that came to mind was the one that they gave the Legacy Award to last year, and there wasn't really, like, you don't hear about these pioneer black women wrestlers, but maybe this movie will aim to try and change that, try and put a little spotlight on at least one name from the past. And good for Trinity, you know? Yeah. Sasha's in a movie that just got a trailer released.
I saw that there was something about that, but I didn't see what the information was about. And I saw that AJ Lee is going to be on the next season of Heels.
Have you seen her? She looks fantastic. Like, she is in great shape.
Yeah.
There's no way she doesn't have at least one more match
against Christian.
I mean,
also speaking about movie things, look at these transitions. Yeah. Batista has confirmed now he was indeed set to go into the Hall of Fame this year, but he was shooting a movie. He couldn't get out of it. And that's what definitely led to all that confusion earlier this year, where they just didn't announce anything. And then they were like, oh, let's go with Ray. That has to be what happened. We were talking about this back then. Went with
Ray? Do you think like Ray just wasn't the plan at all?
Yeah.
Because Ray still fits.
I definitely think that's the case. I think that they had planned on it being Batista as the big draw, and that they weren't sure, and that they had no other like main backup person, except that they were like, well, we could always just put Ray in there. And then they waited so long to announce anybody for the Hall of Fame because they wanted to announce the Hall of Fame headliner first. And they were like, okay, crap. Now we're at like
lock in Batista. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, that they were like, we're at a point now where Batista's like, yeah, I can't do it. All right, let's try to figure out a way around this. And then they go with Ray, and then it becomes the kind of mess that we saw, where it was just sort of like, why did you wait so long to announce Ray if Ray's already on the roster and all? And it has to be because they were thinking Batista was going to do it. And it took all this time for him to say, yeah, I was going to go in there, but I was shooting a movie. Instead of it just being like, why didn't you just say that earlier this year then?
And it wasn't even like, hey, this is, somebody asked me directly. It was just, he was doing a sneaker video with Cool Kicks. And they just go, hey, were you at WrestleMania this year in LA? He was like, no, actually, I was supposed to be in the Hall of Fame, but had a movie, couldn't do it. Moving on.
So hopefully the third time's the charm.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, they could just induct him next year. I do think it'd be funny for him to be in Philly and be inducted after he won the Rumble in Philly, and they just fucking, boo, fuck yeah.
Well, you know, Philly's my area. They would boo almost anything and start climbing poles and everything.
Heyman has to be the headliner next year.
I would hope so. I don't think that they're going to do that, though. I still think that they're going to play around with it and do something else, but I would hope that they would put Heyman in there because that'd be great. I mean,
I'll
it doesn't hurt him whatsoever.
You know? Oh, well, I'm watching the trailer for The Collective with Mercedes Renato, Mercedes Moné / Banks. She's working with Ruby Rose in this one, the former Batwoman.
Oh, what is the movie? Like, what's it about?
It appears to be a very, very much like a kind of cop thriller is what I'm getting from this trailer. And looks good. She looks good. You know, it looks like it's a proper movie. It's got Tyrese. It's got Ruby Rose.
Batwoman, by the way, not a big part of the Batman A Nighttime Story.
I wonder why.
Never been a big fan of the Batwoman character.
Yeah, but it looks good, actually. Good for her.
Well, that's the movie talk that I've got out of the way here. Unfortunately, we got to talk about passing. Now, of course, this one, same as we always do here, hate to talk about it, but I think it's important to pass around that kind of information when it comes around. Darren Drozdov passed away earlier today, I think it was, or it might have been
like just like an hour
the
ago.
reports came out just like right before we had gotten started. But,
yeah, that's right as it was being made official. So,
but I didn't see if there was information about when he had passed on the thing that it didn't have it on the original report that I had seen. But I think it was today. Yeah. Okay. So it was today, at least according to No DQ. 54 years old, which is way too young. And yeah, I mean, obviously he had a really bad go about his career in pro wrestling, you know, his unfortunate paralysis and everything. He didn't have, you know, the most stellar career before that, but that doesn't matter. It's still just an awful tragedy that ended up happening. And, you know, Droz is not somebody that we can talk about like, oh, you know, all the crazy decades worth of memories of all that. But
Droz might have the most famous Vince McMahon line associated.
Right. Like there's
he's gonna puke.
Carved out part in history.
Like Droz will forever be iconic because it could be on that documentary.
Do you have a preference between Droz versus Puke versus Road Warrior version of him?
Droz would probably be the preferred. Like just him being the pierced up guy who had Prince Albert, Jason Albert, what's his name? Matt Bloom, A-Train, whatever you want to call him.
Lord Tensei.
That was his introduction to the WWF. So that's what I think of when I think of Droz. And, you know, growing up and learning that Prince Albert's, you know, getting your dick pierced. But he was just one of those characters who lives on because of his inclusion in games like WWF Attitude and WWF WrestleMania 2000. Like, he's iconic and forever, you know, in the memory because he was just associated with that great time where everything was just booming, you know? Guys like him, Albert, like they'll always live on because they got to be part of this great time in the industry.
And he's very much like, if I pictured that era of pro wrestling, his look is very much like that grungy late 90s kind of, like, you know, there's certain style elements that you just attribute. Like everybody always goes like bell bottoms for like the disco era, and you know, hippies for the 60s,
like
having
hair
like
metal for the 80s, and
the big
like the neon, like the laser. Like if someone says 80s to you, you're immediately picturing like mullets and neon lights,
that purple kind of graphic, and we're Caroline and
like tealish kind of graphic. Yeah,
we were talking the other day, Caroline and I, about like some kind of nostalgia 90s thing. I forget exactly what triggered it. It probably was like some TikTok video of like, hey, you remember this, like with one of those. And you know that that cup design that was in the 90s, that like that everybody knows, that teal swoosh kind of, she was like, you know, if there was like a flag for the 90s, it would be that. And I was like, I fucking love this idea. I think somebody should make like flag per decade. So like the 60s would definitely be like the peace sign, you know?
See, it never occurred to me that was just strictly 90s. Like I always just assumed that was like just, you know, whatever, you're going to get a bagel and a coffee and that's just the cup that you had. It never occurred to me that was just the 90s until about a few years ago, where it was just everywhere as like the 90s design. But the 80s would be very like Memphis patterns. And, you know, to go back to Droz was very like, he had that like new metal late 90s.
Mm-hmm.
He got the piercings everywhere. He had like the tribal tattoos.
Like you could easily picture him with one of those cat in a hat type hats that like Buff Bagwell used to wear, you know?
And he was poised to be a decent star. You know, they paired him with the Road Warriors. They thought enough of his look that they were like, we'd probably get something out of this.
It's the type of guy that I look at and I go, I wonder if he were to, like, if you just transport him to a different part of the timeline and you put him in like the performance center now, I think it would probably work out.
He'd be teaming with Hank and Tank.
Or maybe like, I don't know, maybe he would have a completely different gimmick because he wouldn't be around during that time frame. But like, I think that he had more potential than what was even tapped into prior to the injury.
I agree with that.
Not that I would say like, you know, well, he should have won a world championship off of his debut or something, but like, I think that there was something more there, that if they would have had a little bit more patience, or maybe they would have put a little bit more focus on the training of different people around that, because they didn't really like train people back then. It was just sort of, you know, well, we got Austin. That's all that really mattered.
Which is arguably a better way of doing things because they were more successful.
In some ways, yeah. But Droz is, of course, despite being around for just a short time frame, somebody that is memorable, and it's unfortunate that he's gone so soon. So obviously condolences to friends, family, and fans. Drop your thoughts in the comments below of any kind of like Droz matches you think anybody should check out, or you know, particular noteworthy moments that you think are interesting, or anything of that sort. Let's talk about, you know what? Let's go spoilers. Let's just go TV. Kind of wrap a little things up that way. So we know spoilers at this point for NXT.
Yep.
And tonight's SmackDown, and
that is being taped.
Tomorrow's Collision.
That has been taped, yes, as well as Thursday's Ring of Honor.
That's right. I don't track that. Which, by the way,
I know you don't, but
if anybody wants to do, I don't know why I'm just going to plug it on here. If anybody wants to do coverage for Collision or Ring of Honor on Smark Out Moment, let me know.
This is your chance. I mean, listen, all bullshit aside, I work for Fightful. You know where I started?
Smark Out Moment.
Like, so all bullshit aside, if you want to do something, this is the way to get in.
Between Fanboys and Smark Out Moment, I've lost count of the amount of people that have used those two sites to get themselves like jobs at news stations, and you know, obviously like plenty other.
Like Andy works for Fox. He worked for Fox News for a while, didn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like they see that with Smark Out Moment. Gabby has a job in journalism. Smark Out Moment.
Yep. It's a great place to get started. So if you can write well, which by that, I mean, you're not typing people's names wrong and you can copy and paste the simplest elements. Although sometimes people seem to get really confused where it's like, hey, the title is whatever. And then they're like, where do I put the title? I don't know. Maybe in the title spot.
You make a couple mistakes. You can still, if you're good enough, you can work around it.
You put a little bit of effort in, a little bit of elbow grease.
Goes a long way. Dude.
Yeah. Spoonful of sugar, whatever the hell Mary Poppins says. I don't know. I fucking hate that movie. So
why did you reference it?
I don't know. It's the first thing that popped in my mind. Sherry Poppins is better. But yeah, let's get into this. Is a weird fucking episode of the Hot Tags. Let's get into some of these spoilers, but we have to go back and talk about the things that already happened prior to this. Let me get my cough out of the way because I'm still coughing here. And talk about the last episode of some of these other things so that way we have some context. Last episode of SmackDown, we check to see if there's anything that we really feel like talking about. Nope.
We kind of covered a lot of it in the Money in the Bank talk because the big takeaway is the Usos Roman stuff, which might be like one of the only main things that the two of us disagree on because you just think we're in a holding pattern, and I think like this is the best stuff they've done in months.
Yeah, I don't see anything from last week that we didn't already talk about. I think the same is kind of with Raw. We already talked about some of that stuff with Money in the Bank. Like, why is Ricochet and Shinsuke, they're just having the side feud with Bronson Reed and, women's tag title situation and all.
Are you digging this Kevin Owens anger management stuff?
Some weeks I really am. Some weeks I feel like they're phoning it in.
Because I kind of feel like this is way better than Ezekiel, don't get me wrong. But it's starting to feel like a weird pattern that does Kevin Owens just sort of go into goofy mode after Mania. And I don't love it. It's kind of a weird thing to be doing. I like the idea that he's, being the voice of the audience, and during commercial breaks on Raw, people are recording him looking at the recaps they're showing, and he's going, why are they showing this? We just saw this. This happened like an hour ago.
That's great. I've always liked that about Kevin Owens when he calls out that kind of stuff.
I like that stuff. I just don't want it to become too goofy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's a certain level where he's got to become the prize fighter. Yeah. So yeah, nothing else on Raw that we haven't already talked about, which means NXT. We're already going around to that.
Something we could talk about real quick. They made some adjustments to the announced teams again. But this time it's going to be Megan Morant, the backstage interviewer on SmackDown, is now going to pretty much be exclusively in the studio doing Raw Talk, the SmackDown Lowdown, and stuff like that. Kathy Kelly is moving over to Fridays with Kayla Braxton, which might just be my favorite pairing in terms of modern day announcers. And Jackie Redmond is moving up from the Raw Talk side of things, and she'll be doing backstage interviews for Raw along with Byron Saxton and the Premium Live event pre-shows.
Where's Sarah Schreiber?
Great question, pal.
I have not quite been able to figure that out. She does
the live events. I think she does the house shows still.
Does she do like ring announcing?
Yeah, I think so.
So she transitioned over to that? Huh. I mean, they do that a lot where it's like, hey, you're an interviewer. That means that you can announce, which is totally not the same thing. But they treat the correspondents kind of that way. Yeah, you could do commentary. Oh, you could do that. You could talk in any capacity whatsoever. But
you can talk. You can talk.
they can sing. Gotta get a Simpsons reference out there too, right? 10 points if you get it. Leave your thoughts in the comments. I don't know why I always give out 10 points.
Because it's I would say it's a Harry Potter thing. 10 points to Gryffindor. Probably not.
No, this has been way before Harry Potter existed. That we're talking like me in middle school being like, 10 points for whatever. So, I don't know. It's the teacher in me, I guess. But yeah, let's talk about the NXT stuff, because the Jackie Redmond stuff is like cool. All right, go for her.
And I like that Kathy and Kayla on the same show. They're great, and they will continue to be great.
Kayla's still doing the bump, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so she's got a lot more. She's really like each.
She kind of took over for Renee
and Charlie in some ways.
Right, because they also did lose Charlie.
Yeah.
Right after they lost Renee.
Which Renee is now getting involved in storylines in AEW.
Not a bad move if you're going to do it. I like the way that she handled herself.
I like that. But anyway, Tuesdays, NXT. So we'll talk about this week that already passed, and then we'll get into spoilers. And then we'll come back around and talk about Dynamite and stuff. Gold Rush, night 2. We had Tiffany Stratton retained over Thea Hale. We had Gallus boys on top over, this sounds like a bad framing of a sentence, over Idris and Ope and Malik Blade. We also got the revelation that...
Hold on, because you skipped over probably a major thing. Andre Chase is back.
That's right, yeah, I forgot to mention
Nobody knows what the fuck... I don't know what the hell that was.
Yeah.
He's back in NXT, and Duke seems to still be full babyface. They're just sort of spinning their wheels at this one.
My suspicion is that they were in contract negotiations. Because I don't know about him being injured.
Calling him up, and then they were just like, on second thought, Odyssey Jones.
Huh. Could be that, yeah. But even then, he tweeted that out before the draft, so.
But it was the Tuesday before the draft was supposed to start on Friday.
So maybe him tweeting that out was even them being like, well, we're not going to do that now that you tweeted it. Something's up. I don't think it was an injury. But he's back, so we'll see Andre Chase and Duke Hudson against Drew Gulak and Charlie Dempsey, I'm sure. We got a thing talking about Ilya Dragunov is unbesiegbar. I had to look that up.
Unbreakable?
Invincible. Close.
Okay. I like Ilya. Look, that Intercontinental title, that'd be a lot of fun if Ilya gets called up to the main roster. I like him a lot.
He's seemingly going to continue a feud with Braun Breaker, I guess. I don't know. Braun Breaker stormed out of Shawn Michaels' office at the end of the thing. But, I mean, they kind of have been hovering around each other for a little bit. But going back to the Gallus thing, there was a reveal that Stax is the one that set up Tony D'Angelo, or at least according to Joe Coffey and his phone.
So Joe Coffey played a recording, presumably from after he was stuffed in the back of a trunk, to say, hey, I need you to lay low.
I'm tired of being the underboss.
I'm tired of being the underboss. There's a new Don in town. And he also helped Gallus pick up the win by, uppercutting one of Malik or Idris and then set them up for the loss. But I think it's got to be a double, it's got to be a whodunit, because they clearly are setting up you to think, oh, the D'Angelo family is going to break up, but in actuality, they knew it was Gallus all along, and it was a ruse.
Yeah, it's probably something like that.
Because I just can't imagine that, he just randomly was just, I'm tired of being the underboss. You only been the underboss for a month.
Yeah. Maybe he's got his new crew of Zach and Sebastian that he wants to bring in as his underbosses.
You think Keanu would be great in a faction like that. She's got the kind of, demeanor for it.
She's got paint cans now, apparently.
Oh, yeah, that's a thing we're doing. Before we get to that, I do want to mention that allowed me to write the phrase "holy cannoli" in an article, and I just look, when I'm watching NXT, I'm gonna have fun with it. So help me God. And holy cannoli, I was gonna write something like "holy cannoli," the call came from inside the house, but I restrained myself a little bit and just put the holy cannoli.
Let's get a little snack talk going on here. Are you a cannoli fan?
I'm a cannoli fan. Are you?
Not my go-to, by any means, despite my Italian side. But
usually my go-to for anything, especially like an Italian restaurant, if I can get a slice of cheesecake, I'm usually gonna go with the cheesecake.
I'm gonna lean more cheesecake over that almost every single time. But but you give me like chocolate cake, that beats out any kind of cakes.
Chocolate. I had a great chocolate ganache from Costco. Fantastic.
I've got a cookies and cream cake in the fridge right now that I picked up yesterday, and had a chocolate cake the other day for my birthday. For the people who are just listening for the first time, we're sorry. This is your introduction for the regulars. I hope you're enjoying this. This is me and this is Tony and Rob bullshitting for a couple of hours. Sometimes people like these ones. I don't know. It's almost dark cast territory.
Yeah,
not quite. Because there's been a couple jokes I could have made that I didn't.
Same. But if you like this, donate to the Darkcast here on the Patreon.
Mm-hmm. If you are liking it, you'll definitely like those Darkcasts where we're a little bit more unhinged. Not as much as I want to be, but that's 2023 for you. So go back and listen to the All Talk Show. There you go. Have some great topics there. But cake aside, those paint cans, I counted James pouring those over Gigi Dolan. I hope this isn't a regular thing because I don't want her doing the Outcast thing.
I like the paint cans better than the spray paint. It's more original.
Gigi Dolan got some of that in her mouth, though.
Yeah, she did. I was actively like, oh no!
Yeah.
She got some blue paint in her mouth.
Think there's any symbolism to the blue and orange, or did they just go with whatever two cans were cheapest?
First, I thought they were going with the orange just to okay, you want your hair to be that color? How about the rest of your body? Then the blue came in, and I'm like, I don't know. Blue cane is a thing.
Let's see what else we got that happened on here. Schism had a bunch of issues. And
are we liking Ava?
We're not.
You're not?
That's the answer. She's not good on the mic. She's not good in the ring. She doesn't have presence to her.
I'm warming up to her.
I am not even lukewarm. I think if she wasn't the Rock's daughter, she wouldn't be employed right now.
I disagree with that statement entirely. It's not like they don't have, A1 actors on NXT. I think she fits in just fine.
But she's been there for 4 years.
So has everybody now.
But a lot of them go in and go out. You know what I mean? Since she came before, I think even the that group of 205 Live type guys, right?
No, she came right before the pandemic. I feel like it was February 2020. Or am I wrong?
No, she was in 2019. I'm pretty sure.
Was it February 2019? Right, but then she got the knee injuries and that kind of stuff is where you get a little into maybe they kept her on a little longer because she's the Rock's daughter, but I definitely feel like she's coming into herself.
So February 2020 was when they announced that she had signed, but she had been around before that. Yeah.
See, but it was that's pandemic time, so the timeline is fucking warped as it is because that's when she signed, let alone the injuries and other things. I think she's doing great. I actively she's young too, man.
21.
So she's really gonna come into her own. So it's been fun. I like that they're giving her more of a presence in Schism. The promos need a little work.
And ring stuff needs a lot of work.
I don't see that. But I'm okay with if she could be a great valet, for those of you who watched MLW in the past few years, a Selena De La Renta. Great valet.
Name sounds familiar, but
do that. It's okay. She doesn't need to be the Rock in the ring. If she can carve her own niche, I think that's more important. All that to say, I like her, and
there's some sort of a Rock carving joke in here, but I can't quite formulate it.
And they're doing something with Gacy. I feel like they need to not shit or get off the pot, but he needs to move quicker if you're going to actively use this guy for years to come.
Well, that's part of the spoilers, so we'll talk about that in a minute. Quick run up on a couple other little things. Carmelo Hayes retained his title over Baron Corbin, who went back to using the Lone Wolf song.
I hope that this stays. This is the best match Baron Corbin's had in years, first of all, and he looked motivated. He felt more. Is that just me, or did you see it too?
I think that that's the case. I think that he got pumped because of like, okay, now I can be like the badass again instead of being this jokey character.
Right, because they found that. Look, I'm not saying he should have kept the long hair because I was clearly going, but like, they took this guy who's a legit giant of a man, and they're just like, but you can be funny, so we're gonna dress you up like you work at Applebee's. And you're just the butt of the joke for the next 3 years. Because you can try to be funny, so we're going to put you in positions.
It's like, well, a lot of people have said, don't be funny around Vince. Because then he'll just have you keep doing that. It's always been the case.
It's hard because I get they need to diversify, right? Like, you can't just be the lone wolf.
Mm-hmm.
But fuck, it's so good. Like, he's a badass. You need more of that. You need more believable villains, and he can be a believable villain. He doesn't need a stupid crown or a stupid fedora or, you know, to be bum-ass Baron Corbin. Like, just let him do this. He took the shirt off. He wrestled without a shirt for like the first time in I don't know how many years. He was feeling confident, and it radiated through what he did with Carmelo Hayes, and I actually thought he was going to win because I was like, you know, they like to have the main roster wrestlers on these big events. Maybe he'll just defend against Melo at the Great American Bash. But that is not what they did.
I still think he should win a world title at some point. I know a lot of people are in full disagreement about that, but I will not stop beating the Baron Corbin drum until people acknowledge that I'm right. Like, you know, with Bray Wyatt.
It's weird because, like, I was a big fan of, and this is like on the pre-show of Mania. Remember when he fought Ambrose for the IC title? I was like, you know, that could be a great match because I believe in Baron Corbin. I think that there is something there. And sorry, guys, you don't have Callum on the podcast this week to be the contrarian because me and Tony are big Corbin fans. There's just something there. Like, he has it. It's just a matter of packaging it in a way that feels believable and true to the person behind the character.
I believe in Baron Corbin's potential for sure. I believe in Harvey Dent. For anybody who wants to know that, Batman Nighttime Story.
Harvey K. Dent?
Harvey K. Dent. Yeah, there's a reason why it's a K. If you don't know why,
Batman.
Check out Chapter 2. And I also believe that we are going to get a new North American champion soon. With Mustafa Ali had a little segment backstage where he was like, you know, why don't I get a title shot against you? And it's basically what we've been saying, that he would ease his way into getting a title shot and kind of be a little heelish that way. Tyler Bates not all that happy about it. Von Wagner wasn't all that happy this week. They wanted to stall that even more by him just being like, I'm too upset to talk again. They drag their ass on these things so much and it pisses me off. Not that it's like I get to the end of the story because I don't think that the story's all that great, but it's just, I hate when they do like what should be like a 5-minute conversation and they're like, we can make 9 weeks of television out of this. And you're like, really?
Why does NXT feel like it belongs in Nickelodeon? Whenever there's
really
a backstage segment, you immediately just go, I could see this on Team Nick.
Mm-hmm.
It just,
is that Dan Schneider guy one of their producers?
Not anymore. He's not.
Then we would be doing seeing some different things going on with the AHL.
Oh God, you're not wrong though. The Von Wagner stuff, it's interesting because they are letting you know, like, hey, for those of you that want to clown on how this guy looks, we're giving you a story. We're telling you what he's been through. But at the same time, I'm like, this isn't the Beverly Brothers story I thought you were going with at first. And Von Wagner's another one, like Corbin. I believe in Von Wagner a little less, but the size is there. There's something there, and you know enough to put him with a mouthpiece.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like you have the pieces of the puzzle. Now put them together.
I'm surprised that they don't put him in a tag team with somebody.
They haven't found the other Beverly brother.
Maybe that's yeah. Give him like, I don't know. There's like Van Wilder and he's Von Wagner. You know what I mean?
Is he Mike Enos' kid? Which Beverly did?
What was that?
Which Beverly brother is his father?
Bo, I think.
So maybe the other one has a son, and maybe that's where we're going. Maybe long-term storytelling here. Okay, so he's Wayne Bloom's kid. Got it.
And which one was that? Is that Bo?
That is Bo, yes.
Maybe they can team him up with like team him up with Briggs and Jensen, and they could be the Beverly Hillbillies.
You know what? Okay.
Why do I not have a job at this place where I can at least pitch that and make people laugh during a conference table?
I don't hate it. Briggs and Jensen are fun. They're fun. They won me over. They're fun. Val and Henley, great. But why are they doing this thing where all the NXT tag teams need to fight? Specifically to the point where Hank and Tank, which is another great team name, told Scripps and Axiom, like, oh, you guys are a great tag team. You've already fought each other. What? Like,
I like that Axiom was just like, we're not a tag team. I don't fucking like this guy.
Right, because that was in response to a Bronco Nima and Lucian Price vignette. And Scripps was like, yo, I know guys like this because I was on the streets. And they look legit. And by the way, Nima and Price do look legit. I do think that they have a great look to them, and they could be a lot of fun. But why is Reggie still being called Scripps when we know who it is? Like, what are we calling him Scripps? What? Why does NXT do anything NXT does?
Well, if you're wondering what they're going to do for next week, we have the spoilers.
Hold on, because along the same lines, I just got to get this one in. Dana Brooke is now going to be a mentor to
Kalani Jordan.
Kalani Jordan, who's just so inspired. And why?
And she's like, hi, everybody. I'm Kalani Jordan.
And that's what I say. T-Nick?
Yeah.
Why, what are we doing? Like,
we need to get the cast of all that to come in and match.
No, NXT just needs to turn into all that. That's what we need to do here.
Yeah. We'll get Ear Boy versus like Trick Williams or something.
The Raincoat Man, the Keenan Thompson in the tub. He spoke
PRS Cargo.
There you go. Yeah. Turn level up into NXT all that, and just I'd watch that for an hour. Yeah.
It could be like a crossover with that NXT Kids thing.
Speaking of NXT Kids that never got released.
You know what's really sad? I for a split second I thought you were going to say speaking of all that, and I got more interested.
Yeah, I wish. Speaking of that NXT Kids thing, Izzy's actually like going into being a full-blown wrestler. That's how much time has passed, folks.
I don't want to know the answer to this, but I want to know. How fucking old is she now?
I think 17.
Jesus Christ.
Maybe going on 18.
I hate it.
I do as well because
I was like 3 when I remember one.
I remember the same thing as you do. So it has been a lot of passage of time, but I am glad that she's sticking with it and gonna live her dream. I'm always rooting for people to live their dream.
So her name's Izzy Moreno.
Yeah, that's the name she's going with.
No, she's not allowed to grow the fuck up like this. This is ridiculous.
Yeah, I know. It hurts.
Absurd. But anyway, let's get into those NXT spoilers. Let's talk about how, if you don't want to know, of course, skip forward a little bit. But
it took me a minute. So I was like, why are they putting the American flag on the back of these graphics? The Great American Bash is not next week. Mm-hmm. I'm like, wait, what is it? Oh, it's the 4th of July. Okay.
Yeah. That's when they should have had the Great American Bash, and they should have called Great American Bash as a pay-per-view either in your house or Heatwave or And yeah, the other kind of things that they could have done. I don't know why we don't have it in your house this year.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
But then again, that's like AEW hasn't had a couple things either. Like they didn't do Beach Break. As far as I'm aware, they haven't announced Fighter Fest or Fight for the Fallen.
I'm all right with that.
Yeah. Some of them, I think you can just bypass. We don't need 100 different gambling-related or beach-related shows on AEW each year. So we got Blair Davenport beats Roxanne Perez. Mustafa Ali beats Tyler Bate. Kalani Jordan gets a little bit of help ringside from Dana Brooke and beats Tatum Paxley. Maybe you shouldn't have left Ivy Nile since you've done nothing but lose since then. Cora Jade cut some kind of a promo. Lyra Valkyria beat JC Jean, who in this week's NXT, Lyra Valkyria knocked her down, and Rhea Ripley was like, oh, she's a badass. So,
why was Rhea Ripley on this show?
I have no idea. She didn't do a damn thing.
She showed up to tell Carmelo to fuck off.
And to praise Lyra, and that was it.
I just said Lyra's a badass. I'm like, oh, are we calling Lyra up?
Does Rhea live in Orlando?
They all live in Orlando.
A lot of them do, yeah. So maybe they just called, like, maybe they're like, oh, well, you're 20 minutes away. Can you just fucking show up?
But why? They didn't establish anything.
Could just be a matter of you're an easy person to put on there, and maybe they just still want to do the whole, like, as many main roster people on there as possible. Get people talking, you know?
Yeah.
We talked about it more than if it would have just been Lyra punches JC and that's it. Because then it would have just been, all right, Lyra punches JC and then moving on.
She did, I mean, they did pop another major rating. They were number 2 again for the whole night. They're good for them.
Javier Bernal cuts a promo on Von Wagner, who puts him through a table. Braun Bragner. What the? Who's Braun Bragner? Because it's Von Wagner and Braun Breaker. All right, let's merge them together. Urge to merge Braun Bragner and Von Breaker. Braun Breaker cuts a promo and Dragunov interrupts him and they brawl. That's where I'm getting into they're still feuding. We also got that NXT Underground match. Eddie Thorpe beats Damon Kemp with a little bit of help from Gable Steveson, who tosses people around, apparently.
So, I'm sad that this didn't result in Gable Steveson being like, yeah, I followed his career. He's my brother, dumbass, and then just beating up Eddie Thorpe.
Yeah.
And then, you know, we could have had a fun tag team. Because I still think that Steveson as a tag team could be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm curious why they're going in this direction. Maybe it's they want Steveson and Kemp to go against each other and to be like, we trust enough in Kemp to carry
Get
Steveson.
Something out of
kinda.
Yeah.
But the weirdest thing that happens on this, now, this week's NXT, Schism had a promo segment, Diamond Mine interrupts. They talk about the same stuff that they've been talking about for a few weeks, where Creed Brothers were like, hey, if you don't want to be here, let's have... Well, they danced around the idea of let's have a match where you can fuck off. And Joe Gacy volunteers the dyad for a losers leave NXT match. Now, the dyad had been tweeting out and talking about how those two performers want out of their contracts. And in October, their contracts are over. Well, apparently...
Shawn Michaels openly stated...
I want to keep them.
That is true, but... while they're here, I'm going to fucking use them because they're great.
And the dyad beats the Creed Brothers.
That's right, because he's going to use them because they're great.
So that means Creed Brothers are going to leave NXT, which means that they most likely are getting called up to the main roster.
Baby.
Yeah.
Let's go.
I am all for that. I think that they're more than fine enough to be able to fill in that role. I don't know.
Really sad if they were just leaving, because I think they're great.
Yeah. I don't know the best spot for them as far as Raw and SmackDown. I think maybe SmackDown.
Let's figure out the tag team championship situation first. Yeah,
let's get that sorted out with among the other things. But I'm surprised Dyad won that.
I'm not. Because it got to be to a point where I'm like, they're hyping up too much that they don't want to be here. They're not leaving. You know, like, you kind of get that vibe of like, okay, they're obviously setting you up for, you think we're gonna zag, but we zig.
Is that what happened with Dolph Ziggler?
That's what happened with Dolph. Yes, Tony, thank you.
So I'm probably so many people listening to this episode going, God damn it, fuck this podcast.
You're like, what the fuck is this show? Listen, again, we're sorry. This
It's
is
a
where we're
day.
at today, mentally.
This is the best you're getting out of me today.
Yeah. And I don't want to be professional, so piss off. I'm being honest. Like, the NXT spoilers, that seems fine. Like, it'll be an average show. You know, nothing crazy there. Although this does soothe you because you were so worried about the NXT spoilers last week.
Yeah.
And,
it's gonna make this next Tuesday a little bit easier. Yeah. I'm all for knowing a lot of these shows ahead of time and then being able to skip through. Because I've been noticing that I've been doing that a lot, even with just like Raw and SmackDown that are live. Just being like, you know, I think I'm gonna pause this, go into the other room, take care of something, come back and skip a little bit of this segment, skip a little bit of that. It's a lot easier. And to be honest, they don't care. Of course, they want you to be like zoned in 100% and clicking on all the social media accounts and clicking the thumbs up on each Instagram post and, you know, every little thing possible. But if they expected people to watch WWE now all the way through and all, then you're crazy.
So SmackDown is taped in England. I'm sorry, I know I'm like, how are people getting full high-res shots? Because it's airing live on BT, and it'll air taped here.
Oh, that makes sense then.
Yeah.
Oh, it's good. They've got a RIP Droz graphic, apparently.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I forget what we were talking about, but we are somewhere in that range.
Yeah, just you know, NXT. That wraps up NXT. Spoilers. I'll handle the Dynamite stuff right quick since I am the person on the podcast that watches the show since Callum is not here this week.
I watch. I just don't pay super. Like I wasn't sitting there, my eyes glued
you
to
watch nearly as much.
Like Moxley versus Ishii. I wasn't like, all right, I need to watch them chop each other for 6 minutes. But you know, I know what happened. I watched enough of it to know like we got the trios match, Orange Cassidy, Keith Lee, and Vikingo. I still don't know exactly how to pronounce it though, because they always say it a different name. So
it's El Hijo. I watched Justin Roberts add an H. The H is silent. It's El Hijo del Vikingo. But yeah, let's get into this. Moxley and Ishii, they smack the shit out of each other. Moxley's bleeding. Ishii's bleeding.
Not at all surprised.
Kingston comes out to even the odds against the BCC. Moxley and him, there's still a lot of tension there, but it's not the actual like staring daggers at one another like Kingston and Claudio. Mox ends up getting the win. Moxley snubs Kingston on his way to the back. They end up bickering backstage. And Renee is actually yelling at John. What are you doing with him? What is going on here? Kingston comes, they bicker. Renee separates them, and then she gets in Eddie's face and just says, figure this out because I'm done. I didn't realize this was taking such a toll on Renee's personal life. But, you know, was very upset by all of this. MJF and Adam Cole are the first tag team in the Blind Eliminator tournament. So MJF is like, hey, buddy, we should hang out for the weekend. And they're going to apparently hang out. MJF did call Roderick Strong generic white guy, which a lot of people genuinely pop for.
I thought that was funny.
They had video packages that covered Forbidden Door for Kenny and Ospreay, and
we got the backstage argument with Dark Order being like, "Hey, Hangman Adam Page, why did you?"
Yeah, I was gonna go in chronological order, but yeah, we did get a backstage with the Dark Order being like, hey, since you guys want to have an open challenge to the Hung Bucks, they're like, you guys abandoned us for the Elite, yada yada. Hangman tried to plead his case. I did get into an interesting discussion with someone during this where it was like, it seems kind of shitty that the Dark Order is telling him he can't have more than one set of friends, but that's on another level. A lot of people very emotionally invested in this. Real quick, Orange Cassidy, Keith Lee, and Vikingo beat 2.0 and Garcia. I don't know when Cassidy's going to lose. We'll talk more about Keith Lee later. Renee Paquette talks to Jericho. He talks about the Painmaker and his primordial ooze.
Primordial
ooze. I don't know what the fuck Jericho's on about, but whatever. Dark Order and the Hung Bucks have a great match. The Hung Bucks eventually get the win, and the Dark Order just sort of abandons Hangman.
Yeah, they're like, it's all right if you're getting beaten up. Fuck you, pal.
Attacks. So they attack. Takeshita's there with them.
Is Kaneshita on the same roster as Braun Bragner?
Yes. Takeshita's there with them. Kingston comes out. They all get jumped. Moxley says Blood and Guts on July 19th, which you would have known if you subscribed to Fightful Select. Let's talk about Jack Perry, because he comes out looking like Hyde from that 70s show.
Oh, there's so many people that have been posting things about that, yeah.
And I want to get your take on this. He cuts off Tarzan Boy, says they'll never hear it again.
Smart move, because the first thing I thought of when he came out, I was like, they got to get rid of that song, right?
Yeah, they already, Fightful Select has reported, they already have another song.
Good. Not that I don't love the song, but it doesn't fit with him being a heel.
Jack Perry doing the heel thing and saying, I'm making money and I'm banging the hottest bitch in the company.
Yeah. And then wink.
Banging the hottest bitch in the company. Okay, let's talk about that real quick. You're not the most PC guy, but did you feel some type of way about him saying, I'm banging the hottest bitch in the company?
I thought it was great. Like, that gets people annoyed in the sense of like, oh, you're sleeping with this attractive woman. I hate you. I'm so jealous. It also gets people annoyed because they're like, oh, why is he saying that she's a bitch? Oh, I hate him. He's like, maybe he's abusive, that kind of thing. Yeah.
I think
it shows off a cocky attitude.
At this point, pair them. Visually, they're a great pair. Anna Jay needs something to do.
Not that I would want this to happen necessarily, but you got to split Sammy eventually out of Jericho Appreciation Society.
I don't necessarily want Perry in it.
Right, that's what I mean. Like, I don't think that I would really want that to be the case, but if they wanted to do that for like a little guest shot thing where it's like, all right, well, hey, Christian was a mentor of mine or whatever, and Jericho, I'm going to study under you for this match for like a one shot or something, like I think that they could play around with that.
If they're desperate to keep it together, I'd plug in Jack Perry just because I think the visual is great. Hook comes out, chases him away. More on that later, I'm sure. Ruby Soho was supposed to face Britt Baker. Britt Baker is sick. So Ruby Soho wrestles Alexia Nicole and defeats her with Britt Baker's lockjaw. They will actually do the tournament match next week.
Which we have spoilers on the tournament stuff, so stay tuned for that.
And then let's talk about, real quick, Blind Eliminator Tag Team Tournament setup. Keith Lee and Swerve Strickland are teaming, Tony. They're going to face the team of Orange Cassidy and Darby Allin.
Yeah.
How do you feel about it? Let's talk about it.
I don't understand why they think that this feud needs to be like a year long plus.
I think that they're going to set it up long enough for just to get them to All Out. Because they were supposed to fight, I think that was reported when they did Double or Nothing, they were supposed to fight a Double or Nothing, but they're going to just stretch it out to All Out. But it's been a year.
Like, does anybody care enough at that point?
Somebody will.
Like, it's just too, I mean, like, look, I'm a fan of both, but it's just two mid-carders.
But they have definitely, Keith Lee has freshened up his look. He is not Santa Claus anymore. Look, going natural with the gray is fine, but like it just didn't work for me. So I'm glad that he is kind of going back to his original look that he came into the company with. Also said for next week, as announced last night by I almost said Tony Mango, by Tony Khan, Wheeler Yuta against Kenny Omega. How do you feel about that?
It'll be a good match.
Yeah, I agree with that statement. Let's talk about the main event, which was Sting and Darby Allin taking on the Painmaker and Sammy Guevara. Great, fun match. Sting is a 64-year-old man who's like, I'll jump off a ladder through 2 tables.
Yeah.
What goes through your mind when you saw this?
The very first thing I thought when he started climbing, I was like, dude, you forgot to get out of the way for Sammy jumping on you for the table. Are you going to botch this and get really hurt?
I don't think it was that he forgot to get out of the way. I think, like with a splash or anything, he didn't want to get out of the way too early to where it makes Sammy look stupid. But Sammy came so fast that he didn't have time to move.
You quoting Ty?
Yeah. They're gonna have a beautiful baby girl. Shut up.
Yeah, the match itself. I mean, I'm not a Painmaker fan. I think that the gimmick is absolutely ridiculous and not in like a it's silly so it's fun kind of way. I think it's just kind of lame. But Sting getting these couple of spots here, you know, I'm down for that.
I think it's a good time. Like, I like the Painmaker. What I don't like about the Painmaker is that they're trying to make it seem like there's this lore of the sadistic Chris Jericho.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that I don't really get. But I had a good time. I love Sting. I hope I get to see Sting wrestle.
It's much less, oh, this is the sadistic side of me that I'm unlocking, and it's much more, if you ever gone to like a comic book convention, like New York Comic Con or San Diego Comic Con or something, where you're like, oh, that's a really old fan of Rocky Horror.
Uh-huh.
Where you see people that are like, yeah, you're in your like late 50s and you were a big fan of that when it came out and you're still wearing the fishnets and maybe stop.
But I feel like that's different because that speaks to a very particular, you know, community. And with Chris Jericho, it just seems like he enjoys the creative freedom so much of just being able to do whatever the fuck he wants.
Mm-hmm.
He's just like, I want to make the Painmaker an alien in a movie one day.
Oh, God, yeah, I still don't understand that. But I would watch it. It would be a fan track.
We would absolutely watch it.
No fucking way that movie gets released and we don't watch it. Yeah.
Yeah, that was Dynamite. I enjoyed the show. I always enjoy the show.
And we've got Collision spoilers for Saturday night. So if anybody wants to know that, stay tuned because we're going to say that in right now.
Okay.
I was going to say in 10 seconds. So then I'm like, why would I give myself a countdown? That's fucking dumb. And probably 10 seconds have gone by since I said that. So there you go. That was your warning. Let's see what we got. We got MJF beats Kip Morris. Some kind of, jobber.
He gets on the mic. He's like, hey, I can beat up any Hamiltonite. And out comes Ethan Page. And I'm like, fuck yeah, that's cool. Like, I can't wait to see that actually happen on live TV. That's pretty cool. And
then Ethan Page wins the championship, and it's a whole... No, obviously he doesn't. MJF retains over MJF. Powerhouse Hobbs beats Dustin Rhodes. No surprises there. He's going to advance in the Owen Hart Cup.
I'm shocked.
We also have Ricky Starks beating Juice Robinson to advance.
I'm shocked.
Yeah. Miro beats Anthony Henry by submission.
I mean, I'm shocked.
There's Chris Statlander retaining her TBS championship over Lady Frost. Again, are you shocked?
I am shocked.
And Samoa Joe beats Roderick Strong to advance in the Earnhardt Cup.
I'm genuinely... I mean, we all kind of thought it was going to Joe anyway. But I would have watched Strong versus Punk. That'd be a good match.
Yeah. But Punk and Joe, Hobbs and Starks is what we're looking at, which another one of the variants that we were talking about was most likely going to be the case for that bracket. That's your Collision spoilers. Now the SmackDown spoilers.
Yeah, let's get into it.
So MJF loses the title.
All right, I'll run this down real quick. Undisputed WWE Tag Team Championships. Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn defeat Pretty Deadly, Kate Wilson, and Elite Prince. No surprise there, really.
Yeah.
For a minute, because of the pop, I think I would have liked a big yes boy in the UK.
I liked the whole Kevin Patrick thing on Raw.
Yeah.
Where he was just like, yes, boy, or something. And then he's like, what? Don't ever do that again.
Adam Pearce books Ridge Holland and Austin Theory in a non-title match. Austin Theory then defeats Ridge Holland in that non-title match. Sheamus makes the save during a post-match attack. They will fight for the U.S. title in Madison Square Garden. Here's a video package for the Bloodline Civil War. Tony, will there be a post-credit scene in this year's Civil War?
I do not anticipate one, but if Thanos pops up, I'll be much more interested.
I'm going to get your thoughts on something else a little bit after I read the rest of these spoilers. Karrion Kross airs a vignette aimed at AJ Styles. Money in the Bank spot on the line. Bayley defeats Shotzi. No surprise there. Here's a little surprise. Shotzi confronts Damage Control backstage. They beat her up and cut her hair. Logan Paul on the Grayson Waller effect. By the way, these spoilers I'm getting from Wrestling Headlines.
That is the one that I'm looking at right now. Shout out to them. They did good work.
Yeah. So basically he teases, maybe I'll cash in on Seth. I got history with him. Maybe I'll cash in on Roman. I got history with him. Or maybe I'll smack LA Knight with the briefcase. Out comes LA Knight. Probably does a lot of, yeah. And then
one of these days he's just going to go, no.
And then out comes everybody else. And everybody gets into a brawl. And
it's your ceremonial, traditional, everybody's brawling because, oh my God, it's so crazy. Imagine how crazy it's going to be tomorrow.
But Butch and Logan Paul continue brawling on the outside to the announce table as the show goes to commercial. Fightful Select has reported that there are thoughts of a Butch or Brawling Brutes Logan Paul feud. This is interesting because I told you not to sleep on Butch in terms of Money in the Bank. And we also know if Sheamus is getting a U.S. title shot, are they maybe thinking Sheamus Logan Paul U.S. title SummerSlam?
You thinking maybe Butch cashes in on Sheamus and wins the U.S. title?
No, because they could always, Logan Paul could win. They could say, hey, fella, I want the briefcase back. You could do a briefcase versus title match, maybe. I'm assuming, granted, I'm just assuming at this point that Sheamus beats Austin Theory because he's doing fuck all. So why not have Sheamus beat him? But I think that could be a lot of fun.
There might be something there. I don't know.
Butch defeats Santos Escobar and Logan Paul in a three-way. Butch
LA Knight, not Logan Paul.
Sorry, Logan Paul was at ringside for this. Butch ends up grabbing the briefcase in a post-match like, hey, look what I can do, which probably means he won't be winning.
Yeah, because they do that every year for the most part, too.
That sucks.
I don't remember offhand. Maybe somebody can know off the top of their head. I don't remember them ever showing somebody grabbing the briefcase prior to Money in the Bank and then winning it.
I don't think so.
I think every year that they've had... every year that they've had Money in the Bank for like pay-per-view wise, and even potentially like when it was still around WrestleMania for like, you know, Swagger's win or something, I'm pretty sure every single year they've had the segment of people brawl, one person climbs up and grabs it to show that they can win. And I am almost 100% guaranteeing that person never wins. There might be a case. Maybe Carmella did or something like that. I don't know. But
so as we carry on here, AJ Styles accepts Logan Paul's challenge for next Friday. Let's talk about the rundown for next Friday from Madison Square Garden. Tony, in case you want to go, there's the aforementioned U.S. title match. There's Karen Cross, AJ Styles, and there's the Grayson Waller effect with the returning Edge. So Edge will be in Madison Square Garden. I don't blame them. I'm sure he wants to go back to such a historic venue.
I don't think I'm going to buy tickets to it.
Wow, I'm shocked.
But hey, that stuff is happening in a few hours.
Hold on, we're not done yet. Asuka and Charlotte Flair was ruled no contest when, oh my God, Tony, I am shocked. Bianca Belair was sitting ringside with a ticket and she interfered.
No.
I am shocked. She laid out both competitors. What's the over-under on them adding a 3-way to Money in the Bank?
I mean, if it's not on the spoilers as being that they put a graphic up,
they could always
honestly
save it for the SmackDown lowdown. They could save it for the bump.
Could be, but since it's tomorrow morning,
since it's Charlotte
or afternoon,
it's a bit iffy.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a possibility. It wouldn't shock me if they did, but it seems a little late for it.
So there is a Bloodline segment, as you're coming into the pay-per-view. Roman says he'll allow the Usos back into the Bloodline if they acknowledge him. The Usos come out and say it's time for consequences. And what happens if Roman loses? The Usos say they pick Solo as the next tribal chief, and things break down into a brawl. And that's how the show goes off the air, presumably.
And then Bianca interferes there too.
So that's interesting because, of course, the Usos don't hate their brother. They don't even hate their cousin. They apparently just hate Paul Heyman. But that's very, very interesting. Here's what I want to get your thoughts on. Jeremy Lambert tweeted this, and I'm now thinking that he might have just been watching SmackDown on a stream. So maybe this is actually true. Michael Cole said that Cody versus Dominic is the main event of Money in the Bank.
Well, I can't imagine that is the case, but one of the other spoilers that we have to talk about here, which might be the thumbnail, I don't know, I didn't make it yet. Worked Wrestling, WRKD, for anybody who doesn't know that Twitter account.
I'll go on record and say I like them.
They've gotten a lot of things right. They seem like they and WrestleVotes are two that I tend to trust a little bit more than almost anybody else. They have said that Brock is going to show up at Money in the Bank. And
I told you.
Of course, the most reasonable way of doing that is that he screws over Cody Rhodes, Dominic Mysterio wins, and then we end up getting Brock versus Cody 3 at SummerSlam, which
I told you.
We talked about it before as that's an option. I
Dom
still
versus Seth Rollins at SummerSlam. I'm telling you right now. If that happens, it's Dom Rollins at SummerSlam.
Dom Rollins. I don't think that that's going to be the case necessarily, but even though there's a chance that it could go either way. I mean, like, Cody can beat Dom and Brock can attack him, but it makes more sense if, Cody just gets attacked by Brock. But then again, Cody can get attacked by Brock and Cody can win by DQ. Like the way that they technically do that, sometimes they're like, it's a no contest. Sometimes it's DQ. Sometimes it's interference that the referee has no fucking ability to, hey, stop it. I forgot that I can DQ people. Never mind. Now it's pinfall. So if Brock does pop up,
I hate when
it's definitely not going to be good for Cody.
Yep. And I think that's where we're going.
I think we're getting the strap match type thing.
I think it should be dog collar, because I think that's a bit more aggressive, but it'll probably be bull rope, because we got to finish the story, and we got to always talk about how Cody's father is Dusty Rhodes. And I'm interested in Money in the Bank. These spoilers don't make me less or more interested, but I'm very invested in the ladder matches, and I'm very invested in the Bloodline Civil War. The rest of it is kind of miss, but that's okay.
So I think that's it. At least all I can think of.
We will have full coverage of Money in the Bank, not only on SmackDown.com, but we'll be back here. I don't know why I just took over hosting duties. This is my show now. We'll be back here on Saturday evening. Maybe. I assume you'll be back at least with Callum. I might just say, you know what? I want to eat dinner. Who knows?
If you do, you're going to have to tell us what dinner is. I don't even know what I'm eating tonight. I haven't eaten anything yet today, so
I'll be ordering pizza.
Oh, nice. Can't go wrong with pizza.
And
I had a really good vodka pizza the other day. Shout out to Marinara Pizza. They're really good.
God love New York pizza.
Yeah, I'm really fucking hungry.
I apologize.
Yeah, Money in the Bank is tomorrow, though. We will have a pay-per-view point post-show immediately following the pay-per-view. And, of course, the normal coverage over there on the Mega Maniacs. For anybody who wants to chat there, we'll have the live coverage on Smark Moment. I'll have my post up on EWN. Callum will be talking to us about the Fantasy League stuff. Of course, we'll have to do some kind of a
Fantasy League right now and check.
I don't remember the last time that he updated it, but yeah, if you go to WWEFantasyLeague.com, one of my more favorite domain names that I own, which I still am perpetually like. It's a shame that WWE doesn't want to just pay me for that, but you know, then again, they didn't want to pay me for WWE-network.com either. So, yeah, Fantasy League update coming up tomorrow in some fashion. Money in the Bank coming up tomorrow. We got all that stuff over there on fanboysanonymous.com.
According to the last time he updated this, I'm in third again.
Robbed of points.
You're apparently leading at 178. Callum is leading at 158, and I'm trailing behind. It's close.
Wait, I'm leading right now?
Yeah, you're leading.
So that's why Callum, the last update was like, oh, things are changing, but he didn't bother to say that I was winning.
So you're ahead of him by 20 points. He's ahead of me by 23, and you're ahead of me by 43.
That's math.
I hate it. Okay.
Anybody who watches Silo, by the way, I mentioned that earlier. I'm only a few episodes in, so don't tell me what happens. But there's a character, and I was like, I usually do my I'm rooting for this as like a best character type.
Oh fuck.
Wait, you're assuming that's a bad person?
No, I see why I'm losing.
Why's that?
Drew McIntyre's on my team, first of all.
Oh yeah.
Stupid me. Second of all, I said must have been before they were fucking decided to fight Ronda and Shayna, I'll draft the NXT Women's Tag Team Champion.
Yep, that worked out well, right?
Shitty. Oh god, and Bobby Lashley's on my team. Oh god. Oh god, this is all. I make poor decisions.
Yeah, there's a character on Silo that had a line on an episode I saw recently where he's like, he said something about 46, and he's like, I got that number by adding 40 and 6. And I immediately paused and turned to Caroline, and I was like, this guy's my favorite character.
I bet he is. You just like the most in-your-face, sarcastic assholes. Which is amazing because, you are a great person.
I know what's behind the mirror of what I could be, and I live vicariously through other people. Since we're off the rails on this fucking podcast, you want to hear a funny story about looking in the mirror? This just reminded me of it. Not really looking in the mirror, but again, talking to my wife, because she's around me all the time, and she's my best friend. So, of course, fuck you if you hate hearing that. You're the love of my life, so separate from it.
That's fair.
But I forget what we were talking about, and this is a weird end of the podcast, but what the fuck, why not? People are like in the StarCast stuff, I'm sure. The Michael Jackson song, Man in the Mirror?
Man in the Mirror, yeah.
For the longest time, I thought that the lyrics, and I knew that it didn't make any sense, and I never bothered to think about it, but it was just like, oh, that sounds catchy and whatever. I thought that the lyrics were, I'm stuck inside the man in the mirror.
No.
Because if you sing it out loud, I'm stuck inside the man in the mirror.
No. Okay, well, since we're telling funny stories about Tony's wife, she had no idea what Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer was, apparently. She was calling him Rupert.
Rupert the Nose Deer.
Rupert the Nose Deer. And that would have been as funny if she didn't start the message she sent to me with, "I swear I'm not high." And I'm like, "You're Caroline, it doesn't seem like you are. The Santa nose deer." Like, okay.
Rupert the nose deer from Christmas.
From Santa. No, it's from Santa. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, so I have my stuck inside the man in the mirror stuff. She has her Rupert. Find yourself a Caroline.
Yeah, Caroline's fantastic.
If she was behind me right now, like she was during the rest of the podcast, then I'm sure she'd be embarrassed right now, but she's out. But, that's your parting gift, is you can get that song stuck. You double it up even more. I always add "I'm yours" to the end of it. I don't know why. There's another song that does that, but listen to that song, repeat those lyrics, make sure you're following Smark.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. Yeah, follow me at Dude Police. This is a lot more of what you'll get if you follow me, because I, for the life of me, can't be professional to save my ass. You get a lot of just brain drain on my Twitter and just brain dump, and it's a good time. Sometimes you just need to do that. But yes, follow me everywhere at Dude Police. DudePolice.com. It's definitely coming soon, according to WordPress, because they want to charge me $300. Yeah, follow Callum at Wigmaster14. He tweets a lot less. He's a lot more professional than we are. He's fantastic.
Across the board.
Well. Yes. Tony, were you going to tell them something?
Go to amangotree.com. Go to anthonymango.com. Click on all that good stuff that's over there. Make sure you were.
Blue Sky. I saw that.
I did add Blue Sky, and I have done almost nothing with it so far, except for try desperately to figure out how to get that fucking banner up, which they don't have any reasonable means of doing it. Because when you click on it and you go to upload, they don't have any, like, here's the proper dimensions. And then the dimensions shrink, and then they shrink again. It's weird. So the only thing that I've done there is send them feedback of what the fuck are you doing with this banner?
I will say this. I haven't actually blue skied. I haven't.
Oh, that's totally not
whatever
as intuitive as just being tweeting.
But I do like the lack of noise on Blue Sky. So yes. Also,
Quiet's
Dude
nice.
Police on there. Quiet is nice.
I am Tony Mango on there, I think. No, I'm Anthony Mango on there because I could get that and not have to do the Tony Mango thing.
It's a new era.
Yeah, it's a new day. Yes, it is.
But yes, if you like quiet, we're going to go be quiet now.
I'm sure a lot of people are wanting us to be quiet a long time ago.
I'm sure they are.
But for those people, I say, go get stuck inside a man in the mirror.
With consent. With consent.
Well, the man in the mirror. I mean, it's you.
Yes.
So
still ask yourself for consent.
There's some sort of a James McAvoy split joke I could go here. I don't know. Point being, that's the hot tags. I think you're going to enjoy when we pre-tape some stuff and then we end up not having another episode like this. I don't know. We'll see. But if anything's carrying over into tomorrow, then I apologize.
Look at it this way. If things were better, we would be more willing to be professional. So donate to the Patreon.
Yeah, there you go. If you want a more or less formal podcast, then go to the Patreon. Go to the join button there on the YouTube channel. Go to all these things. Click on all those buttons. Do the good stuff.
We'll be back next week. I'll have more sleep, so I'll be more professional. I can't promise anything for Tony, but I'll be in a better mood.
It's a good thing that we don't have the video on these podcasts, where you just be like, all right, you could see Tony's face eye roll about certain things that he doesn't want to make a joke about, or like, you know. Anyway,
but if you want video, donate to Patreon.
This is true. This is very true. So the point being, Brock's gonna fuck over Cody, and we'll see you later, everybody. This has been another Smark Out moment, and we are being counted out.